Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Peter Maynard, King's Counsel, is presently in the British Virgin Islands. He is the president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. Of course, during his visit, he's paid courtesy to a number of agencies and persons within the Virgin Islands. Of course, we're chronicling his visit, but most importantly, bringing awareness to the Commonwealth Lawyers Association and its use to public good. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Angie, how can I get my claims paid quick? Rent's due next week.
CG processes 99% of claims within 5 days. Remember when I was hang gliding with those goats? I caught a gust of wind and flew right into a moving car. Every appendage was in the cast, and they paid fast and fairly. That's what I get for trusting a man with a mustache and an eye patch. Now I gotta go. I'm meeting the guy who bedazzled my toes.
99% of claims are processed within 5 days. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Start the year off with more. More speed, more downloading, more savings, and more Fire. CCT Fire Fiber Internet gives you the speed you need to keep the whole family connected. Packages starting at $119 with speeds from 300 megabytes per second. Super fast, unlimited downloads, even more reliable connectivity, plus free live streaming TV for the family to enjoy. Sign up for the absolute best fiber internet service in the BVI CCT Fire and pay no installation fee. Plus, get CCT Live TV for free. You deserve more. Get more with CCT. Life Unlimited.
Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, joining me today is King's Counsel, Mr. Peter Maynard, President of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association out of the Bahamas. Mr. Maynard, thank you so much for your time and welcome to our studios. By extension, welcome back to the BVI.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're most welcome. As mentioned, you are President of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. For persons who may not be aware, can you put the organization into perspective for us?
The Commonwealth Lawyers Association covers the 56 countries of the Commonwealth, which is about a third of the world's population, actually. And the core interests of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association are human rights, access to justice, rule of law, and independence of judges and lawyers. Those are our core mission. We have a conference every 2 years. We had one in 2017 in Melbourne, Australia, one in 2019 in Victoria Falls in Zambia, one in 2021 in Nassau, Bahamas, my home country, and the last one was in Goa, India, and the next one will be in Malta from April the 6th to the 10th of next year. And you have my invitation to come, and other lawyers and members of the public, please do come and join us.
Amazing.
In Malta.
Now, when we look at the Commonwealth, and you mentioned some 56 countries that are making up the association, how important is it for you to not only be at the helm of this organization, but to making sure that it's leading in just what we mentioned, public good?
Yes, that's why I'm interested in the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, the impact upon the public good, and issues such as the alleviation of poverty, sustainable development, access to justice. We have special interests such as the small island developing countries, there's impact upon them. And so during my mandate has been to increase the value of the CLA by introducing a number of committees. For example, there's a Climate Justice Committee, which just last month, during February, we held a conference and they issued a Sabah Declaration on Climate Justice. This related to the Borneo rainforest, but also broadly to the entire world. And so there's a Climate Justice Committee. There is a Corporate and Commercial Committee, which is of interest particularly to lawyers in BVI, which is now getting underway. These have been introduced and by me, and so it's a work in progress to make them happen. So my mission is to have lawyers and judges, members of the public, to engage with the CLA so that we produce the kind of things we need in that area as well. Another area is dispute resolution.
Of course.
I've done many tours of Africa, and just for this year alone, 2 tours of Australasia, and everywhere I go, I hear the refrain, let's do more on dispute resolution. And so this is a dispute resolution committee, and we're talking about everything from reducing I call the factory line of young black men, usually men, to prison.
Yes.
By implementing restorative justice through a dispute resolution committee, for example, or a certificate on mediation, delivering that through such a committee. There's also a committee on family law. Family law is so very, very important. Just last week, I issued a statement along with other organizations of the Commonwealth regarding the Gambia, which has just recently tried to re-legalize female genital mutilation. And so we all came out against that. That's just one aspect of the power of this platform. We also in support of the judges. For example, in Kiribati in the Pacific, judge was to be deported. He was suspended, and that's an ongoing issue. Okay. And so that gives you an example of the kind in this region.
Yeah, the type of matters that are at
yes,
hand.
A lawyer in Guyana had advised a client of the right to remain silent. There's a presumption of innocence, after all. And we issued a statement when she was detained as a result of giving that instruction.
Understood.
And I think that the number of, indeed, 2 prime ministers of the region spoke out, and we, on this very same issue, and we issued a statement to correct that position.
Wonderful.
And so others include law, tech, and innovation. The AI is topical nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so, indeed, I've asked the Law, Tech, and Innovation Committee to take a look at a declaration on AI. They have frequent webinars on AI and other law technology issues and how it's used in the courts and so on. I think I may have covered everything. I don't want to leave out young lawyers. The Commonwealth, we have a strong emphasis on mentorship training.
Amazing. For
young lawyers as well within the context of the CLA. These are all works in progress, things my administration has had the pleasure of introducing. And indeed, we want the public and the community of judges and lawyers to take advantage of them. The other point I'm focusing on is improving the financial sustainability of the CLA, because it needs resources to be able to do things. So we need to come together, have events. Some of them will become revenue streams so we can do more things for the public good.
Understand. One of the things that you mentioned, of course, is the access to justice, and I want to touch there a little bit. In your time as not only a lawyer, but president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, as you pan across the region, what are some issues that are continuously coming about as it pertains to the access to justice in some of our regional counterparts?
On access to justice, and this is music to my ears to have you ask that question, because one of the declarations we're working on is a global declaration on access to justice and rule of law. And the kinds of things in the region I'm hearing about cover a wide range, but it may be, for example, there's the question of legal aid. Mm-hmm. In the year 2002, I had the privilege of drafting the St. Kitts and Nevis Access to Justice Declaration for OCBA. Many people haven't heard about it, but I'm taking it to the next level, global level. We hope to do an Access to Justice Declaration as well. Legal aid is, in many countries, not available except in capital cases, for example, at the High Court stage. It's not available upon arrest, not available upon detention, not available on arraignment, and only available when you get to at the High Court. In some instances, it may be available later on too. And we need to cure that, for example. We need to make, and also in serious civil cases, not just serious criminal cases, yes, but also in serious civil cases. For you're about to lose your home, for example, why can't you get legal aid for that? That kind of thing. And so that's an area where we've been focusing on access to justice. It covers, for example, land is so very important.
Of course, a number of land disputes.
Yes. And the Corporate and Commercial Committee, which we have in developing in the CLA, and I had a very fruitful talks this morning with the BVI Bar Association.
Yes.
And that's an issue that we can work on with the support of the BVI Bar, as well as firms, lawyers and firms in BVI, to improve land reform globally, in particular issues which affect us directly in this country and in the region.
Agreed. You mentioned the BVI Bar Association, of course. During your visit here in the territory, you've been visiting with a number of associations as well as persons. That includes the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mrs. Tiffany Scatliff, the Bar Association, along with the Arbitration Center, and Justice Young. Tell us about your visit and some of these interactions that you've had.
I'm really deeply honored, delighted that Dancia Penn, KC, and the BVI Bar Council, BVI Bar Association, and also others such as Jack Husbands, Barry Leon, and so on, could make these arrangements for us. Scott told us of the Bar President,
yes,
and so on. It's been an excellent opportunity to engage with them. For example, interesting talks with DBP on a range of issues. One of them, which I think we can assist on, by being such a big platform, there are a number of vacancies which need to be filled in DBP's office. What better platform to find out than to circulate that information as this one, which covers the entire Commonwealth, as say, a third of the world's population, yes, potentially, to get talent from anywhere in the world. We covered a range of, I won't go into every detail, but we covered, as I mentioned, land reform, the corporate and commercial, very, very important one. We covered training, judicial training, as well as the training of lawyers. And there's an organization called the CLA Online Training Institute and e-library, which I have introduced. And we want to get the engagement of lawyers and judges so that these things are headed in the right direction. I can't do everything individually.
Of course.
It's a joint effort, and that's our committees are member-initiated, member-driven, member-operated. And that's really important, because once lawyers engage and express their interests, the committees can go in different directions to meet those interests.
Understood.
But they are selected with countries such as BVI in mind. And so my mission is, please get engaged in the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. My presidency will have been in vain if the public and lawyers, institutions, lawyers and judges do not become engaged in the CLA.
I must ask you, you were the first elected president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. During your tenure, of course, you have a lot more to go, but what have you been most proud of to date with the organization?
I'm most proud of something which was put in place by one of my predecessors, by and large, Santan from India. He is an honorary life president, and there are a number of other life presidents as well. But we now have spaces for 56 countries, all the Commonwealth around the table. There's a seat for everybody around the table.
Amazing.
Dancia Penn, KC, is a member for BVI. Very eminent lady and very able. And so that's one thing. The next thing I'm working on getting proud of is these committees I mentioned to you, that they actually can be formed and they can actually deliver. I don't want people to get engaged, but I also want them to deliver tangible progress.
Absolutely. Impact and influence.
Exactly. To uplift our societies. Become engaged, but it's not a talk shop. It's not just a talk. It's intended to actually do things of value to our countries. And so I'm hoping that between now and November, there may be an event in places like BVI, to deal with some of these issues which have arisen. You see, we have the Malta Conference, 6th to the 10th of April of 2025, but I would, before November, I'd like to have some other events. After then, everybody's going to be focusing on Malta.
Yes.
But let's have something now.
In between that time, yeah.
In between that time, people will come from far and wide to share with us, to share their ideas with us, and to do something very productive.
Wonderful. I have to ask you, because you are a fellow Charter Institute, arbitration, and of course, additionally, anti-corruption. In your conversations with the Arbitration Center, what was some of your advice to them?
Well, I'm pleased to be on the list of arbitrators at the BVI Center. Arbitration is, I look in a very specific sense of international commercial arbitration. It's so very, very important. For the past decade, I was the founder and director of a summit, a summit called the Summit on Arbitration and Investment, the Caribbean and other emerging markets, Caribbean, Latin America and other emerging markets. It's celebrated now for the past 11 years and it's continuing. I also head the center, I chair a center in the Bahamas called the International and Western Hemisphere Arbitration, Adjudication and Mediation Center. I'm also on the board of directors of OHADAC. OHADAC has, through the French countries in the region, has a center chaired by Sir Dennis Byron. And so I think we need to, let's continue to move the needle as far as international commercial arbitration is concerned. But I also look at the bigger picture of alternative dispute resolution. I should you should call it appropriate dispute resolution.
Correct.
I call it, not just alternative. It shouldn't, it's not necessarily, don't go there as a second resort. Sometimes you have to go there as a first resort. One of those areas, as I mentioned earlier, in the area of criminal law, there's a lot of interest in the region, this particular region, the Caribbean, in improving criminal justice reform. And I hope colleagues will engage with me in the CLA to improve the impact. One area is restorative justice.
Yes.
Now, I think we have the problem here in BVI, perhaps, as we have in the rest
elsewhere,
in the Bahamas and elsewhere in the Caribbean, of what I call the factory line of young black men to prison. How can we break it? By the clergy around the region have said for many years now, not an original idea, that restorative justice may have an impact to prevent the young first offender from going to prison again. In other words, to send a young person, a first offender, to prison for the hardened criminals. In many places he comes out worse than he went in. And so if the young person accepts that he has done some wrong, if the young person respects someone, perhaps an elder, a member of the church, a member of his family, it's possible to create a group to help to steer him or her, usually him, back on the right path again by meeting with the probation officer, psychiatrist, and everybody else, and also with the victim. Healing is involved. To produce it's quite a dramatic situation.
For all concerned, yeah.
Yes. If someone, for example, breaks into your house, that's trauma for you. You thought your house was
safe. Yeah.
Safe. And so the idea is to create the healing of the victim, but also of the young first offender. I'm hoping that the Dispute Resolution Committee within the CLA can implement that on a wide scale around the Commonwealth. It's had some success in countries such as New Zealand and also other countries. And I'm hoping that we can have a good success in BVI and in the Caribbean. So the whole wide spectrum of issues which I think affect the public, which affect the public good.
I have to ask you, King's Counsel, on the matter of restorative justice, what would you say to all stakeholders? You've heard, I'm sure, it takes a village to raise a child. It still takes a village to raise an adult as well, particularly ones who have been impacted by criminal activity. What do you say to the stakeholders, all concerned, as it pertains to their contribution in restorative justice?
I think it's important to engage and to press for reforms such as I've mentioned, restorative justice. We have to find ways to create greater healing in our societies. It's it is very disheartening, concerning to see our young people, for example, not know how to resolve disputes peacefully. Nowadays, we see our young people posting on the social media and so on, fights and so on. And so basically we're talking about how do you handle disputes? Not turning to violence, not turning to crime, but be able to resolve disputes in a peaceful way. And indeed, peer mediation, which I'm hoping that the ADR, Dispute Resolution Center, will also help to introduce around the world. Indeed, by peer mediation, I mean going to the schools and teaching young people how to resolve the disputes in a peaceful way, and have indeed a mediator of the same age group, supervised, of course, by an adult, a teacher or something, who can be trained to learn how to resolve their disputes. It starts at the school level.
Of course.
And so we're talking about changing the culture, and I think it can be done. So I say to the stakeholders, let's look at addressing the root problems, changing the culture, making sure that our young people, as well as not so young people, know how to resolve the disputes in a peaceful and constructive way.
Very important. King's Counsel, I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for your time and your contribution, and of course your visit here with us in the British Virgin Islands. I know you have a busy schedule, of course, a number of courtesy calls, but most importantly, connecting the good of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association and have that trickling down to the wider society. We thank you for your contribution, and we thank you for your time.
Then please do take a look at the CommonwealthLawyers.com. CommonwealthLawyers.com is a website. It's a very elaborate website which sets out material about the Commonwealth lawyers. If members of the public see anything which engages their interest, please do be in touch through the website or directly with me, because my term would have been in vain if the public, if the community of lawyers and judges do not become more engaged within the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. And thank you very much for having me, Ron.
You're most welcome. Viewers, I want to thank you so much for your time. Joining us today was Peter Maynard, King's Counsel, President of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, of course, on his visit here to the British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.